right, guys. Hello. Oh, so now we are just us. That's better, right? Okay, I'm Sarah. Nice to meet you. I'm here to talk about a year of Symfony. So basically, yeah, Symfony and what happened last year. So a year ago, what happened? It was the birthday of Symfony, yay. So we ate a lot in Paris, and I know you love Paris. So yeah, it was amazing. This year it's in Berlin, it's even better, right? So what happened? Yeah, there will be a lot of cats. I love cats. Two main axes for this conference. The first one is the community, because it's really exciting, yeah. And the second part is features. And I know that you're like, okay, so what you are talking about. You know that for the last year there was like thousands of features, or more, I don't know. I just chose a little bit of them and the one I like. So if you are, I don't know, disappointing, don't put it on LinkedIn or Twitter, just say it was amazing, okay? Because it's exciting. All right. Sorry about that. So first of all, the community. You heard about this, of course, a week of Symfony. Every week there is a little guy called Javier that writes a lot of articles about everything happened on Symfony, on development, but also on the community. I invite you to read them, and basically this conference is about this. Thank you, Javier. There was a new contributor called Grégoire Pinault, which is just right here. He wrote the workflow component with Fabian and, of course, some people of the community. And hopefully I will talk about that, of course, because it's a great feature. Some figures about pull requests. There was more than 2,400 pull requests open. If you wonder how the hell I got those figures, here is the query. I didn't lie, okay? More than the half of them were merged, which is cool, right? About the issues, more than 1,400 were closed. And I don't know if it was like solved or not. There isn't. I had to read all of them, and I don't know. I didn't have time because I began my slides yesterday. Some releases, there was more than 50 versions. It's more than one per week, because there is 52 weeks per year. I learned that yesterday. And yeah, that's awesome, right? Really cool. There is a new way of releasing Symfony. For people that doesn't know that, now, you have one new minor version every 6 months. It's not new. Before, it is on November and May, okay? So you saw that the last one was 2 days ago. And now there is a new major version every 2 years. And since 2.8 and 3.0, you have 2 releases at the same time. So the last minor one and the major one. Okay. About some SymfonyLive, there was 3 of them, even if you see 4. One in Paris, one in London, one in Cologne, in Germany, and the one in Chicago was cancelled. You have to know that every year SymfonyLabs tries to have a SymfonyLive in USA, so hopefully next year there will be one. Virtual hack days, there were 2 of them. The one about code, which is what it was in March 12th. Maybe you heard about this, maybe not. And the other one was about documentation. And I wanted to talk about that because if you want to, I don't know, try a new one, launch something, just talk about that with the community. Most of the time is Ryan that is behind this kind of thing. So just talk about this and yeah, try to launch it. Documentation, I want to talk about the Mercury project. You heard about this? By this name? Yeah, no, are you here? Hello? Okay, so let's talk about the Mercury project. Of course, you saw that, so the new page with the documentation, because most of the time when you are developing with Symfony, this page is open, yeah. There is it's nicer now. You have the part telling getting started, so basically it's all the basics about developing apps with Symfony. You have this little bar there with components, bundles, and reference. So yeah, components, of course, it's the libraries, the standalone libraries of Symfony. You have bundles, so commonly used bundles used in your Symfony app. So it could be the one that are shipped with the standard edition, but you have also the mainstream ones like First User and so on. And yeah, before the link to this documentation was quite hidden. It was on the left on the footer, so now it's directly on top, so I think it's better. And there is of course the reference, and basically it's about form types, DI tags, and Symfony configuration, okay? And the last part is guides and tutorials, and it's basically everything else. So you know about cookbooks, so basically everything is here now. The other part of this is the search engine. Before it didn't work. So now it works, and it works pretty well thanks to Algolia, and there is a really, really nice article about this, about how SensioLabs implemented it in Symfony.com. So I invite you to read it really carefully if you want to use it on your applications. A little word about the influence of Symfony. I just talked about those three projects because it's what I remember well from the last year. So Drupal 8, of course, because it took ages to go out. The AZ Publish, because it's a sponsor. And PrestaShop, I don't know why. And of course many others. And of course the influence that Symfony has on your applications. So I'm sure that, and I can see that with my clients now, every time that a client say, okay, we will go through a new phase in our development, we will use Symfony. It's like, yeah, changing everything, and the way of developing, the way of thinking, and even the way you will train your developers. So I think, yeah, Symfony has a very good influence on teams too. Okay, the part that you are looking for now is the features. So let's begin with the 3.1 version. I will talk about just this one and the other one. There was a lot of features that was really interesting on 2.8 and 3.0, but I don't know, I don't have the whole day, you too. So let's begin with when it went out. It was in May, of course, and as I said, at the end of the month. The first one, Deprecation Helper. Of course, you heard about this because the main, not problem, but thing about the new version 3 was to make sure that all developers that uses the version 2 will go through these changes and just upgrade their applications. There is detection of deprecation thanks to the PHP unit bridge, and in your configuration of your file called phpunit.xml, you have something called Symfony Deprecation Helper here, which is an environment variable. And you can put three kind of things. The first one is disable. So if you don't want to see the deprecation, basically you put disabled and that's it, which is not quite nice. But your test won't fail. The second one is basically a regular expression which will match against the deprecation message. So basically if you want to search for, look for a certain type of deprecation, you will put the right regular expression. And the last one is basically a threshold. So if you put 10, the test suite will fail if 10 or more deprecations are triggered. Okay? You can put more. In the documentation, not in the documentation, but in the blog that Javier wrote, it says the common thing would be to get the number of deprecations you have, just add one, put these thresholds in here, and to make sure that when you develop on your application with this new version, you don't add new deprecations. Okay, and then you reduce this number as you can according to the time you have. A new component was out called cache, and I'm sure you heard about this because yesterday you saw the conference of Nicolas Grecas. And yeah, this component is all about implementing the PhpStorm 6 standard, but for me, I don't really care. It's just more about caching content arbitrary. And yeah, more importantly, this code, because it's what you will have to do. The first thing you have to do is to get the service called cache.app, then get item, the name of the item you want to create and get from the cache. Then you just make sure that the cache is hit or not. If it's not heated, you have to get the element you want to cache, then set all the elements in your cache, and then save it, thanks to the service. If it's not heated, if it's hit, sorry, so if you already warmed your cache, you just have to get all the elements from the cache, and that's it. Really easy to use. And of course, there is a lot of adapters, and people are continuing to develop new adapters, but most of the time, yeah, people use this Redis, PCU, Doctrine, whatever, and all those adapters are already developed for you. There is documentation, again, so I invite you to read it carefully. Okay, a new way to display forwards and redirects. So basically, it's just this arrow and this arrow, which is really nice. You have also other information which are where the action is forwarded right there, and here where the user will be redirected with the HTTP code status. You have also great information about security that went out thanks to the version 3.1, which is the voter. And yeah, so first the strategy that your application is using and the voter that are executed on your page. There is another great information which is the access decision log. And yeah, you will see every time that a voter was called, if you had an access denied or granted, and according to your strategy, you will have access granted or not. I cheated here, sorry. This screenshot is took from version 3.2, because before 3.2 you didn't have this kind of amazing output. Yeah, and so you have two features in one here. And yeah, you have to know that since 3.2 you have an integration of var-dumper directly in the profiler, which is amazing. Yeah. Color-coded HTTP status. As you can see, it's like Christmas everywhere, colors and yeah, great. You have a new category called silence error. Before it was displayed, of course, but it was among all the logs, so it wasn't easy to read. So now you just have to click on silence error, and you have all the logs according to this channel. Filters in requests. So now you can click on those loops, and basically it will filter your request thanks to the IP, the method, the HTTP method, or the URI. Some YAML deprecation, because I think it's really important. Most of the time we say, okay, should I put a quote or not? Put quotes, it's deprecated otherwise. So yeah, every time put a quote, especially for parameters, and you will see that after, in 3.2, you have to put quotes every time. I saw also that if you want to have a serialized object in your YAML, you have to put only one exclamation marks instead of two. Yeah, some improvements with the process. Before, you had to create a process, get the input of a file, let's say, and run the process, and that's it. If you wanted to write things or add things, it wasn't possible. Now you have those amazing methods called start and close. And yeah, you get the input, and you can do things during the processing of the process. Really nice. About the output, now you can get an iterator from the process, which is quite nice, because if you want to display things, you just have to make sure that as a key in here, you can see that you have the type. And if it's out, you can display the, I don't know what you are doing with your process, but the thing. And if it's error, you get the error, and you can display it also. Okay. All right, 3.2. You just saw 11 improvements from 3.1, actually 12 because I cheated. Now I will show you way more. I hope you are excited. So 2 days ago it went out, it was amazing. I'm sure you all updated all your applications in production. Yay. First of all, there is a new method helper in the controller, which is called file. So if you create a page, you have to create your root, then your action, and there you can put this kind of line, which is this file, the path to the file that you want to download. The second parameter is basically the name of the file that you want the end user to see. If you put null, it will take the file, the original name of the file. And you have two ways of displaying the document. The first one by default is to download the document for the end user. The second one is disposition inline, which is just displaying the document directly in the browser. Okay? Yeah, now YAML supports PHP constant, and to do that, you just have to put the exclamation mark PHP/const and then the name of your constant. Okay, easy. Otherwise, if you put directly the name of your PHP constant, it won't be considered as a PHP constant. Some improvements about compiler pass. Everybody knows what is a compiler pass? People that doesn't know, it's easier. Just raise your hand. Okay, so basically a compiler pass is a way of managing your services during the build of your container. So there is a way of declaring your service in your configuration, let's say. And I don't know, for X reason, you want to change those services or grab them and process them in a certain way. You can do it in PHP thanks to the compiler pass. Okay, so it's quite advanced, but it's really useful. And in here, the code I put just above this one is a way of getting certain services that are tagged a certain way. So, I don't know, let's say you put a tag, please. Symfony tag, please. Twig extension, thank you, mister. So yeah, let's say you have 10 services that have those tag. You grab them, and in here it's not at all twig extensions. As you can see, it's kernel.cachewarmer. And then you want to get the priority of them if the priority is not set. So if it's not, it's 0 by default, as you can see here. And then you create an array with the priority and the reference of your service in your array. And then you have to sort it by the priority. And at the end, you merge it to get the real, the array you want to have. Thanks to version 3.2, you just have this amazing method which is called find and sort tagged services, which is quite easy to understand, really good wording. There is also a priority in your compiler pass. Maybe you knew that as a second argument of the method addCompilerPass, you can express the step there is several steps during the building of your container. And yeah, in this step, before it wasn't possible to put a priority between all the compiler passes. Now you can do it. There is a new form type which is quite exceptional, I think, because it's like every time people are proposing a lot of form types, it's like no, 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 no. And now there is a new one, which is called DateInterval. So it looks like this. So basically, I put with years, with month, and with days at true, and you can see all of those widgets here. And yeah, I chose a choice. You can put input also. The documentation is quite nice to understand. So yeah, I think you can see that, yeah, I put placeholders, so basically it's years, month, days. You can put whatever you want. So yeah, it's like the example that you have in the documentation is like a reminder. So if you want to be reminded every years, every month, every day, it's up to you. Tagged cache. So it's basically about the component I talked about before. So I told you, yeah, you create your cache, you get the item to create it, and then you set things inside. I don't know if you know. Okay. Then you can tag it. Okay, so let's say you want to put reviews, products, and products with the product ID. Then you save it. If you want to delete an item before 3.2, yeah, you had this, and you have it, the delete item, and you can delete directly a special item. Now you can delete a bunch of items thanks to the tag. Okay, and the method is really easy to understand, invalidate tags. Nicolas Grekas talked about that yesterday. Routing improvements. Yeah, maybe you know the encores. When you have a page and you want to go directly to a special section of this page, you just put this hashtag. And yeah, now you can directly generate this URL with the encore right here. Okay, and of course you can put that directly in the defaults, and this element is called fragment. Okay. Some YAML deprecations. So I talked about the quotes just right here. So you have to make no. Okay. It was an error. Okay, so the quotes before about the parameters. So first of all, you have always to put a space before a column. Okay. And the second thing is that before, when you were creating a parameter and then you created again the same key, it was okay. It was just erased by the second one. Now you will get a parse exception. So no more duplicated keys. Okay. Runtime environment variables. Fabian talked a lot about this, and it's quite interesting because, yeah, before you were obliged to, when you were creating an environment variable, to prefix it with Symfony __. Now it's no longer mandatory. You have to put the env and then the name of your environment. And now it's resolved at runtime, which is quite amazing because if you have always the updated value. Same thing if the environment variable is not set on your machine or whatever, you can create it directly in your parameters. That way you always have a default value. Okay? Are you okay, guys? It's not too much. Cool? Yeah? Great. All right. Console improvements. Now you can put multiple text style options. So at the same time you can have bold and underscore. Wow. 2006. Woo. No, I'm joking. If it was, I should have done that way before. Now you can hide comments. you know the method setEnable, which is quite different. Now you can hide a command. So when you list all the commands, it won't be shown, but the command can be executed even if it's hidden, okay? Which is different from setEnabled because you can't use the command. Yeah, the serializer. You heard that this component is getting better and better. Actually, this component is getting better and better thanks to the project called API Platform. I think you heard about this bundle. And yeah, now we have a nice encoder for CSV, which is most of the time pain in the ass. So yeah, you just have to get the data. Let's say you create this array and put the string CSV, and that's it. It's done for you. Same thing for decode. There is the same thing for YAML, but quite different, of course. Here I can show you this YAML inline, one YAML indent. So it's easy to understand for the YAML indent because you just put the number of spaces. YAML inline is basically if you want to inline your object, okay? Otherwise, you will have different behavior. I invite you to test it, and you will see it's quite easy to understand. Cache improvements. Again, I cheated, sorry. There was, again, a presentation by Nicolas Gricas about those improvements. I invite you to see the slides. It's already on the internet, so go ahead and read it. Yeah, you can get information about the firewall now. There is a really amazing class called firewall config, and in there you can get the name of your firewall, the provider, the context, entry point, and so on. So thanks to it, you now have some information in your web debug toolbar in your profiler. So as you can see here, I have my firewall name, and if I click on the profiler now, I have this amazing section here, which is security firewall with the name, if the security is enabled, if it's stateless, you know, all the things you put in your configuration. And yeah, cool. Yeah, some improvements about translation. You can now update your translations according to the domain, which is quite nice because before it was the whole thing. There is something quite amazing also. Now you're not obliged to put the count at the end to choose which one is the right thing to display in your catalog. Oh, yeah, the support of PhpStorm links. Who uses PhpStorm? Yeah, I know. That's why I put it there. Yeah. So now it's supported. That's quite nice. So now, yeah, what is this configuration thing? It's basically when you have, you know, in your stack trace where you have your error, let's say, you have a link to the let's say, class that raised the exception. You can click on it and go straight to the ID you use. If you put this value, you will get directly to your PhpStorm. Otherwise, thank you, Nicolas, if you don't put anything in this configuration variable, if you click on the class that raises the exception, in your browser you will have this kind of amazing output, which is quite really, really nice. Yeah. Yeah, the support of Unicode. As you can see, here, there is an option called UTF-8 true, and yeah, in Symfony 3.2 you can actually remove this option. By default, Symfony will directly detect if there is a UTF-8 character, but after that, actually it's deprecated. In 4.0 you will have to put this option every time. So remember to put this option now, and yeah, you can put that in your requirements, in your URI and so on. Yeah, the new component workflow. I'm sure you heard about this. Who didn't know that there was a workflow component? which is quite new. No, yeah, okay, you all heard about this. It's really nice. I won't talk about that a lot because people made already a presentation about this one. Grégoire Pinault, Studio Alsonier, those guys, and me too actually. So just go on the internet and see. And of course, people can answer questions about this for you. There is a better support of one common application, which is quite nice because, yeah, if you want to make just an application with one command, yeah, if you don't want to set a whole Symfony with the whole stuff and so on, you just have to create this kind of thing, and basically, yeah, your new application, add the command, and set default command, and that's it. Okay, you have the command and this. Simpler command testing, which is really, really nice because when I began to contribute to Symfony, it was on a command actually, and I had to test it. It was really hard, so I had to do this kind of thing that I didn't understand really well, so I learned things. But now you just have to use this amazing method called setInputs. So, yeah, amazing. You didn't see that. That's it for the features. I just wanted to thank some people. First of all, Javier Eguiluz, because without him, I wouldn't be here, and I would be like clicking on the changelog and scrolling like hell for days or years, of course, because it was only 2 main versions, but you may know that there is a lot of versions every time you want to work with Symfony. So thank him a lot, and I want a round of applause for him, even if he's not here. Yeah. I would like to thank also all the contributors that contributed to Symfony so far. It's well, it's every year it increases, and that's really nice. Same thing for the documentation. So again, a big thank to all of us actually, because I'm sure that everybody contributed to it at some point. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. And hopefully I will see you next year, and I will prepare my slides right now, of course. Just a quick word about my cat. For people that know me, yeah, every time I do a conference, I talk about my cat. His name is Lannister. He's really cute. He has a Twitter account. We are 46, if I remember well. So I'm trying to create a new community, so follow him. And thank you very much for your attention.